What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture. November 23rd, 2019. I'm going to answer these questions in this video. What does it look like to time Bitcoin swing lows? I'll immediately answer this question. Can you time Bitcoin swing lows? The answer is not exactly. You can't time it perfectly. And that is why you always have to be ready for Bitcoin to hit its swing low. And you have to have your plan. It's literally the key. There's no predictions. Stop scouring YouTube looking for technical analysts that can make predictions, that can tell you when to buy. You're not going to find it. The next best thing is this: being ready with a plan to buy fear, to buy oversold conditions with confidence. Lacking fear on your end, and spending money that you can afford to lose. I'm going to jump into this video, especially if you're a replay viewer, you probably just want to jump in. I want to start this video by playing a video from July 2nd. This is literally the picture of what it is to buy the dip. And this is from July 2nd. This is like over 4 months in the making. It took us 4 months to get to where we are. Drew Blood 21 is here. I can definitely get started. I haven't seen Drew Blood in forever. What's up, dude? I'm going to start this video. I'm going to start with this video from July 2nd, a quick clip to give you the picture of what patience looks like. Beautiful patience in buying the dip for Bitcoin, buying literally just opportunity. Let's play this really quickly. We're on a completely different chart here. Now, in terms of this longer term Fibonacci area, I just want to let you know my eyes are on it, and that's it. Right now, my eyes are on it. I'm not saying anything crazy is going to happen. I'm just putting that out there because it is an extremely important area to keep an eye on if we get some type of capitulation event from where we are now. Just to give you an idea real quick from where we are right now, that's like 35% more to the downside. Not even going to spend a lot of time on that. I just wanted to throw it out there. It's incredibly discounted Bitcoin. I don't think we're going to get there, but it's a possibility. So there you go. There you go. So you can see this Fibonacci channel that I put on the screen when I was doing this video. And we talk about it being a possibility. I even said I didn't think it would happen. I said I didn't think it would happen. However, 4 months ago, we were prepared that it could happen. And since then, it has happened. And this is what it looks like. I have to move some things on my screen because it's overcrowded. Let me move over some of these things that you can't even see. 4 months in the making, and we are here in terms of Bitcoin coming down to a key Fibonacci area. And we can open up this Fibonacci area from the swing low December to a swing high when everybody was feeling the gains in June. And here we are. We're literally at the 618 in terms of this area. It took how many months to get here, and we're here. But I always say zoom out on the charts, right? Look how messy it looks when you're zoomed in on the charts. Somebody said they hear an echo. Is my audio working okay? Let me know. Let me know in the chats, please. It would be helpful. Press 1 if you can hear me okay. So we talk about how messy things look like. All the noise in terms of Bitcoin when you're zoomed in on the charts. And then when you zoom out of the charts, okay, I sound fine. When you zoom out on the charts, right? What do we hear? What did I say? We hear crickets. Just crickets, because it looks like it doesn't look boring, but it looks like there's not much going on in terms of Bitcoin. It looks like it's just doing its thing like any other day, and that's just the truth. But the reality is, when I did that video on July 2nd, back here, we talked about the potential for just continued losses into a very key Fibonacci area. And technically, we're not even really in that area yet, right? But this is the area I said I did not think we'd get to. And here we are sitting here for like 4 months later. And what's crazy about it is it's not something that we timed, right? And I'm not sitting here being like, oh, look, I talked about these price ranges when Bitcoin was over $10,000 months ago. I'm totally not doing that. I'm reinstilling the fact that, and I'm doing this for myself, by the way, I'm reinstilling the fact that, and I have to remind myself that Bitcoin does what it wants to do. And it's not something that we can ever be prepared for in terms of timing what it's going to do, if that makes sense. So, and I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted because I have this notification that keeps popping up on my computer screen, and it's absolutely driving me nuts. It's like right in the middle of my screen. But let's jump into the technical analysis. So where do we go from here? Right now, Bitcoin on the daily chart, I want to start on the weekly chart. Somebody said low is sub 3,000. And that's not something that I agree with. I don't think Bitcoin's going to go that low. I know I said I didn't think Bitcoin was going to fall into the range it is now. However, it did. But I'll tell you why I don't think Bitcoin's going to go to $3,000. And it has to do with what I was just going to bring up on these charts. When I did that video in July and we talked about Bitcoin coming down to a key Fibonacci area, Bitcoin, and let's go to July on the stock RSI. I mean, it was literally, Bitcoin was like right here. Do you see where this is? That is the scariest place to be in terms of Bitcoin when you're on the weekly chart. When Bitcoin's up here, like, you just have to be extremely cautious. That's not to say Bitcoin won't stay up there for a while. In a bull market, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see it up in that area for a while. But when it's up in that area, you just have to be ready for big pullbacks. And if you're a long-term holder and you're like, I'm here for years, then you have to literally tell yourself Bitcoin's going to drop like 30%, 40% or more. You have to tell yourself it's going to happen, especially when you're up here in this overbought area on the stock RSI on the weekly. It's going to happen, and you have to accept that fact and be completely cool with that fact. Meaning, when we're trading at 10,000 plus, and I'm talking about Bitcoin coming down into a key Fibonacci area down towards $5,000, I had to be okay with that happening. We have to be okay. And we can only look at it as one thing, which is opportunity if we're here for years. The reason I don't think we're going to go down to $3,000 is I don't think Bitcoin's going to remain in an oversold position for too long. So on the short term, on the weekly chart, and by the way, thank you for the super chat. I got a $2 super chat, and that's the notification that keeps coming. It's popping up in the middle of my screen over and over again. So thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it. And it was less is more 87. Thank you. So we're not going to be oversold for long. The biggest thing I'm really curious of, and we talk about this like for probably years now since I started the channel, the 40 line on the weekly RSI. The 40 line on the weekly RSI right here. We talk about that 40 line. And especially we talk about it in terms of exiting a bear market, right? Like we did back in, we were in the bottom of the bear market December and we exited in spring. We broke that 40 line. But we talk about the 40 line being kind of the illustration of what a bear market looks like, right? Here's a bear market. There's the last bear market. On the RSI, it's a very nice picture of what the bear market looks like. Now, what we're looking for is a bounce above. We want support above the 40 line on the RSI. We absolutely don't want Bitcoin to fall below the 40 line. So I'm not saying I hope it doesn't. I don't like integrating hope into Bitcoin charts. Everybody wants Bitcoin to go up. Obviously, I do, unless you're shorting Bitcoin. But Bitcoin being this oversold on the stock RSI, this quicker moving momentum oscillator, with a little bit of short-term correction right now and approaching this 40 line on the RSI, I mean, we could potentially dip below it briefly. However, I really don't think Bitcoin will fall below that Fibonacci area that I didn't even think we would get to in the first place. So what that looks like is pretty much just below where we are right now. So we had that comment. Somebody said low 3,000s. That would be the low 3,000s would be down here. And this could be whoever made that comment. I forget who it was. Thanks, Poseidon Lou, for the super chats. Appreciate you, dude. Thanks for coming by today, man. Hope you're having a good weekend. Whoever made that comment might be looking for a double bottom in terms of Bitcoin, and that's fine. I know there probably are people that are looking for a double bottom in terms of Bitcoin, but I really just don't think we're going to fall below this Fibonacci resistance, being that Bitcoin is already extremely oversold. And what happens in these environments where Bitcoin's oversold or overbought is people's mindsets they get attached to the direction that Bitcoin's going. Meaning when Bitcoin was overbought, right? When Bitcoin was overbought and we were approaching this area up here, everybody's mindset started shifting to just bullish. Like a lot of emotional attachment to the direction of Bitcoin. And the same thing happens on the downside. So we were talking about resistance up to $16,000, right? 14,000, around 13,000 to 16,000, a key Fibonacci area of resistance, right? The same thing that happened in the last bear market, right? Right here, same exact key area of resistance. We're talking about the areas of resistance, and then a bounce all the way back down into a Fibonacci support. But many, many people in the market were overly attached to this crazy momentum of Bitcoin. I think they were getting nostalgia of what happened back here in the fall of 2017 bull market, and we simply were just not there yet, right? Like Bitcoin has not entered the bull market yet, and I can't say that enough. It just hasn't entered the bull market. So in terms of where Bitcoin's going to bottom right now, again, to answer that question, you can't time it exactly. However, I think we've done a really good job in terms of being ready for it. I'm not going to sit here and say that we talked about this range a lot, going down to $5,500, but we've certainly have been ready for it since July. The possibility for it. So besides the weekly momentum oscillators being in that oversold area, I guess mainly the stock RSI, the RSI really isn't oversold per se. It's sitting just above 40, and it's consolidating right now. And I have to point out, when Bitcoin hit its Fibonacci retracement, the doorway to the bull market back in the last bear market bull market cycle in July, or June or July, hit that Fibonacci resistance right here, right? Boom. You can see what it was doing then, and it was simply putting in another, consolidation phase in terms of Bitcoin coming down on the RSI. The other thing that happened for Bitcoin after it exited the bear market, right? So we have Bitcoin exiting the bear market, August, September 2015, I guess you could say, right around there. That final bounce out of the bear market, Bitcoin actually was already kind of, where was it? On the RSI down here, right around 60 or so. And it actually came back down and tested the 40 line, the key area for Bitcoin bear market, bull market cycles. It's a very nice indicator to look at. And we got support off of that area, and we got a bounce, right? That's the one thing Bitcoin didn't do this time around. So I think it's interesting that finally, after 4 months, Bitcoin is actually coming back down and testing the 40 line on the RSI. I think it's very telling. It's going to be very telling what Bitcoin does next in terms of bouncing or not bouncing off of this 40 line on the RSI. Will Bitcoin break below the 40 line on the RSI and just kind of tank through this Fibonacci support? I don't think so. It totally can. I get it. But again, that's why you don't spend more than you can afford to lose in terms of Bitcoin. If you're here right now, hit that like button, everybody. I see four dislikes. And that is like, it makes me so insecure as a YouTuber. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to glance over at some of these comments. 1,000. Litecoin will follow, right? I'm probably going to do a Litecoin video a little bit later today. Aaron Levi says, remember all the people saying when it was 4K, saying it was going to 2,500, 1,000, etc. Never happened. Exactly. And that's exactly my point. You have people doing the same thing when we were sitting at like 13, 14,000 saying we're going to 20,000. People get attached to the momentum in whatever direction Bitcoin's going. And that's happening right now, I think. So at the end of the day, you have to remove the emotion of it all, the hype of the YouTube videos that you see, the hype of people on Twitter, and you have to remove all the hype and just honestly just look at what's on the screen right now. It's just the steady flow back and forth of Bitcoin. And it's exemplified perfectly on these momentum oscillators down here. And also we can use things like the long-term Fibonacci retracements. So I did mention in July, I didn't think Bitcoin was going to make it to where it is. In terms of right at this green Fibonacci area. However, we're there now and we have to consider these things. The fact that Bitcoin could really drop into that area, and we can get a really clear picture on this chart right here. If I open up Fibonacci retracements, here it is. Here's a daily chart. This is nice and zoomed in so you can really see. This is the area when I did that video in July 2000, July, it was like July 2nd. It was probably right on this chart right here, talking about Bitcoin potentially coming down into this Fibonacci area. I said I didn't think it would happen. And, maybe that was just me not wanting it to happen. I don't know. Just being honest with you. We're right above it. And so the question is this, and I'm curious of your thoughts in the comments if you want. Will you buy this? I will buy this range. I have my ranges of where I accumulate Bitcoin. This is literally the heavy range, right? That's just it. I don't even have, if Bitcoin went into 3,000s, like some people are saying, I'm sure if we got there, I would buy some Bitcoin. I don't even have that as part of one of my buy ranges. This is literally my bottom buy range. This Fibonacci retracement we've been tracking since July. That's like my heavy thing. That's where I'm like, we're bottomed somewhere in here. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to 6,300, 6,400, and I'll buy a good amount of Bitcoin, and then we fall to 55. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm interested in buying the dip. And Jacob says he's buying the dip. Thalee says buying the dip. Kyle says, is everyone thinking we're going to 100K? Will it actually happen? It's a good question. Will it actually happen? $4,500 says Greg. What's up, Lance? Lance Base, I see you all the way from Times Square, New York. Tim S. said already bought. Ian Russell says he's in. Jonathan Allen says, I bought hours ago. I realized it was bouncing off 7K repeatedly. So Jonathan, using that 7K area. So anyway, this is my buy zone. I mean, it's as simple as that. You can't time it. Obviously, 4 months ago when I talked about this area, I was not thinking 4 months later we'd finally be potentially getting there. I said I didn't think it would happen. I was wrong, but that is what it is. So Bitcoin on the 4-hour chart, again, a very clear idea of what's going on. On the short term, what I'd be really interested to see, and this is kind of synergistic with some Litecoin charts I was looking at too, Bitcoin just obviously in a big dip. Bitcoin's in a big dip since swing high, end of October, 30-some percent, plus 30-some percent to the downside. And we know that often, most always, when Bitcoin does that, it's probably going to bounce. So I'd be really curious to see what happens right now. You can see we're in a 4-hour, downtrend in terms of being in that oversold area. We're oversold on the daily. We're pretty much oversold on the weekly, especially the quicker moving momentum oscillators. And we're just above a very key Fibonacci support area. Doesn't mean we can't fall in it. We very well could, but that is an incredibly long-term Fibonacci support area. I think anywhere in here is just discounted Bitcoin. That's what I mentioned in that video, and it's just the truth. It's discounted Bitcoin. So that's what I'll be doing. So if you look at, and this is what I'm talking about, we have Bitcoin falling in from this swing high in June, $14,000 almost, to where it is now. We have Bitcoin just with these lower highs, right, and these lower lows. And currently we're at the bottom trend line of what looks to be a pretty large falling wedge at this point. If you look at Litecoin, this is not going all the way back to the swing high, but this is kind of a more recent, a broadening triangle of sorts. It illustrates perfectly, and I tweeted about this yesterday. This illustrates perfectly the unknown and the volatility that we're experiencing today in cryptocurrency. It's just a perfect picture of it. You have this broadening triangle where everything actually just keeps getting even more volatile to the upside and the downside with bigger swings, right? And Litecoin, just like Bitcoin, just on the daily chart, oversold, right? It's just oversold. And actually, Bitcoin and Litecoin oversold more than a lot of other altcoins. Interestingly enough, Bitcoin looking like the most healthy play right now in terms of getting some quick gains. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now in the short term. Bitcoin's just obviously putting in a lower low. Will it continue heavy into this heavy buy range? For me, I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. But it took us 4 months to get here. Since I did this video talking about the potential that we might get here, and we're here. We are here. Anything crazy is going to happen. I'm just putting that out there because it is an extremely, extremely important area to keep an eye on if we get some type of capitulation event from where we are now. Only took 4 months, everybody. It only took 4 months to get here. But we're here. And now the question is, what do you do with that? That's really the question. I see Rob D is in the house. What's up, Rob? Good to see you. Press 1 if you guys are. I'm really curious as we're entering this Fibonacci area that I talked about. Press 1 if you're bullish. If we think we're going to bounce above this, press 2 if you think we're falling into this range. I'm curious to know in the chats. Let me know. Arise Chicken says, I don't care which direction it goes. I'm having fun playing the BTC LTC ratios. Are you trying to rhyme? Are you trying to rhyme? That was pretty funny. I feel like we have more bears. I feel like we have more bears than we do bulls. The big 6K support from 2018. I know many people doing that, taking this trend line all the way from, 2018, kind of extending it over here. I don't put much bearing into old trend lines like many people do, but I mean, I'm talking very old trend lines. That's literally, a year and a half ago. But what's interesting is how that runs right in the middle of this key Fibonacci area, this retracement area, heavy accumulation area. Also runs very close to the $6,400 area. I did a video in the beginning of October discussing a tweet that I read about Bitcoin mining costs playing into the technicals, playing into $6,400 potentially being a low. Could that be the capitulation event that we get falling right into our Fibonacci retracement? Potentially. I don't know. That almost sounds too good to be true. Everything coming together perfectly. It really depends. Jacob says, I'm short-term bearish. Jonathan says, I like to pivot from channels like this, technical analysis, to channels by miners. A miner was saying he couldn't see it go below 6.9 for long. When that began to line up with channels like this, I saw a correlation. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Jonathan, I don't know if you saw my video from beginning of October. I did it talking about a $6,400 floor in terms of Bitcoin. And I agree with you, how it lines up perfectly with technical analysis is definitely an interesting thing. So another reason to kind of, for me, this is a bullish area of accumulation. However, I will say this, many people, I mentioned this, we were just talking about this a little bit ago. Many people, they become, like emotionally attached with the direction of Bitcoin, right? So when it's going up, they're just, the more it goes up, the more that they think it's just going to keep going. And then the more it goes down, the more they think it's going to keep going. So I bet you more people right here, when we were, in a little swing low in the end of August, I bet you more people there were thinking that was it. We're bouncing to the moon now, than people here thinking this is it. We're bouncing to the moon now. The fact is, though, there's stronger likelihood that this is it. And it's a very simple reason. Removing all emotion from the markets, Bitcoin is just way more oversold than it was back then, right? And there's been more time for consolidation for Bitcoin since back then. So I think one of the best indicators for all of us in terms of Bitcoin and when to buy Bitcoin and when to time Bitcoin's bottom is when you see more people bearish. I think that's something true, something we have all noticed in terms of that happening. When everybody's more bearish and everybody's doubting more and there's more fear, I think we get a good idea that the bottom is getting close. Guinness Speak says, halving is coming. I don't think this is gonna moon until well after. And if you look at, the halving is coming. Here's the white line running up and down my screen on the daily chart in May. He could be completely right. We might not see a bullish move. This falling wedge on the daily chart could continue into the halving. I would be so surprised if it did, because there would be a lot of, unless we get some really nice swing highs, right, in this falling wedge. And I guess for context, we can look what that might look like from a price range. Like, just assume we got to bounce right here to the upside, 20% gains. That would help level off the momentum oscillators a little bit. But falling down going into May, almost June, in terms of the halving, continuing to fall in this downward trend, number one, will put Bitcoin extremely oversold. But number two could be, I don't think it'll happen, but I also said I didn't think we'd come to this Fibonacci support. But number two, this could be like the most bullish setup. It really could. I think I remember talking about, like, when we were on our way up back here, we're going to get a retracement eventually, right? And usually when Bitcoin gets retracements from swing highs like this, it falls into some type of bullish pattern. And I wondered what that would look like. And this is potentially what it looks like. This could be the bullish pattern made up of months and months and months. June, now we're in November, right? It's been 5 months, and it can continue on for more months into spring. It could be the most bullish higher low for Bitcoin right in this Fibonacci area. And Bitcoin could finally, maybe before the halving, in the halving, after the halving, just kind of enter the bull markets. And it's always interesting. If you go back and you look at Bitcoin last time around, it's really not much different other than the timing of it all. Bitcoin hit the same exact resistance that Bitcoin hit in this past June, right here, came back down and consolidated, and, eventually entered into the bull market, breaking this very key Fibonacci resistance. And that's really the move we're waiting for right now. What makes it so interesting is the fact that you can see Bitcoin made the move around the halving, and then this time around, you can see Bitcoin made the move to the Fibonacci resistance out of the bear market way quicker. The halving is like all the way over here. So if we're getting all of this consolidation right now, if we haven't entered the bull market yet, a lot of that could have to do with Bitcoin just exited this last bull market way too soon, right? And you can see it just took longer to exit the bear market. Quicker consolidation phases, sideways trading, and then boom. It took way longer last time around than it did this time around. Dave C says, you think we will see 6,400 in days or weeks? So when I ask myself questions like that all the time, actually, like sometimes I'll find myself looking at the chart too much in my own personal time, trying to figure out when I'm going to buy, how much I'm going to buy, how much I'm going to accumulate. And you're asking about the $6,400 area, right? $6,400 area is right in the middle of this Fibonacci retracement, this green rectangle. So it's the heaviest buy zone for me in terms of this entire consolidation. I've been buying the dips on the way down here. I'm not going to say I've been waiting for this to come. I told you I didn't think this was going to happen, right? I did not think we would fall into this area. So I've been buying dips like kind of on the way down. I tweet sometimes when I buy a dip, but this is the heavy dip. This is the one. This is where I'm buying heavy. And you're asking, will it happen in days or weeks? And that is the thing when I'm talking to myself and I'm like, all right, what are you going to do? When are you going to do it? I just don't even try and answer. I really don't. I do not try and time when it's going to fall into that zone. All I can do is put some self-control into play and just wait for it to happen. Because we all know if there's one thing we've learned, hopefully a lot of us have learned, hit the like button if you've learned this. We literally don't know when Bitcoin's going to go crazy. And you go to a 4-hour chart and you can see these moves for Bitcoin. You remember this move from literally just like a month ago. Like within less than a day's time on this 4-hour chart, nobody knew this was going to happen. Absolutely nobody knew. Nobody. Boom. Up 30+% in like 8 hours. And that's what Bitcoin always does. It makes these moves. And every single time, the world is astonished. These amazing surprised articles come out. Everybody's amazed at the move Bitcoin just made. And you really, unless you find somebody that just maybe put out a lucky guess, you really don't find like a bunch of technical analysts that said, we all saw this was coming. We don't see when it's coming. All we can do is have our buy zones in play. And if you're a trader, have your trades in play if you want to sell Bitcoin, if you want to make some profits. George B, with some good advice in the live chat, says, don't catch the knife. Don't catch the knife, folks, because you can't. Amir says, sideways, then slowly up. Muffin McPuffin says, Bitcoin looks like it's going under 5K. Nick Rodriguez says, true, nobody knows what's going to happen. Isn't that the truth? Nobody knows what's going to happen. But what I do love, at the end of the day, we can all see the noise on the daily chart zoomed in, noisy. There's unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. And then what happens? We zoom out on the charts. We zoom out. Like I'm talking, you zoom out very far. And it just looks comforting. There's no noise. All you hear is this. Crickets. I have my little soundboard here. I'm kind of proud of it. I have to get used to using it. The timing of it all, it's so difficult. So, super chat, $5, Joshua Smith. Appreciate that, Joshua. Thank you. 2020 is going to be an interesting year for crypto. Get your popcorn ready. Appreciate everything you provide, brother. Joshua, thank you for the super chat, man. I agree. It's going to be an exciting year. There's a lot going on, and get your popcorn ready is true. I think one thing a lot of us can agree on if we zoom out on the charts is when we zoom out on the charts, yes, we hear crickets. Yes, there's not a lot of noise, but what does this look like to everybody? It looks like Bitcoin's putting in a higher low from the Bitcoin bottom, similar to what it did in the last Bitcoin bottom, putting in higher lows on its way up. And that's what Bitcoin is doing right now. It's truly what it looks like Bitcoin is doing right now. And actually, I want to do this real quick as I'm just looking at these charts, price range wise, from that swing low at the bottom of the last bear market to its, temporary bottoming out, a lot of sideways trading, Bitcoin had the opportunity to take a breather after some really nice gains. It traded sideways 86% from the swing low. From this swing low, Bitcoin currently still trading sideways, 127% from the bottom that we just experienced in December of last year. It's not trading sideways 86% above that area, but it's trading sideways 127% above that area. And many people still saying how bearish Bitcoin is and how negative Bitcoin looks and Bitcoin's done. Pretty crazy to me to think about that. And it gives you context. We could be in the same exact world that Bitcoin was in before making its parabolic bull run, when it's trading sideways at 86%, right? Trading sideways 86%, Bitcoin could be 5,800. Getting ready to moon. So one thing is true, nobody knows what's going to happen. Don't look around YouTube trying to find the answers. Look for data, look for clues, look for possibilities, and be ready for all possibilities. But at the end of the day, nobody knows exactly when it's going to happen. You can't time the bottom. But since July, if you look at this chart, we really have been ready for this area. We really have been. And now, since we're getting there, will we fall into this area? I don't know. I'm sitting back, I'm relaxing. If it happens, I don't know how quick it will happen, but I'm relaxing, I'm watching. This is a heavy buy zone for me. Rob D says, Head and Shoulders target $500 Bitcoin. I love it. Rob's so bearish. Guinness Speak says, great live feed today. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Thanks. And I appreciate all you coming by. I really do. Those are my thoughts, this technical analysis for Bitcoin. Let's see what happens. I mean, this is it. You all know. I mean, I've talked about it since July. This is where I will be heavily buying. Maybe that'll bite me in the short term if Bitcoin does drop into $3,000 or Rob's $500 target. But I don't care, because this has been the heavy buy zone that I didn't even think we'd make it to for months. And so that's probably the best approach. Maybe there's better approaches. This is my best approach because I'm not freaking out and I feel confident about it. And that is the fact that if you're comfortable with buying dips at certain levels when Bitcoin gets there and you're not spending more than you can afford to lose, how can you really lose, right? You can only really gain. Obviously, I don't want Bitcoin to go to zero. I don't want Bitcoin to fail. But at the end of the day, if you're not spending more than you can afford to lose, you're just kind of sitting back and relaxing and waiting. Thanks for the super chat. Less is more 87. Another one, $2. To the moon 2020. That's what I'm talking about. To the moon 2020. Soon to the moon. It's like I'm hearing everybody say the same thing that happened before we hit 10,600. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day. Hit the like button on the way out. You know, I as a YouTuber, it really does make you feel good. I mean, it's probably the best part of doing a YouTube video, seeing those likes. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're getting there, everybody. Patience. That's all it takes. I appreciate everybody that came and hung out with me today. I really appreciate you. To any haters that were here, but to everybody here, no matter what, I love you. I hope you have an awesome rest of the day. I'll see you in the next video, and God bless.